Hi, my name is Adrian Wright, and I'm CEO and founder at Estafet. And I'm here with Branimir. Welcome. We are here to discuss generative AI and its impact on the software development lifecycle. I'm here with Branny because he's got 20 years experience as a solution architect, as a CTO, as an advisor. In fact, there doesn't seem to be too much that you haven't done, Branny. And he has been working more recently on not only cybersecurity and cloud, but also AI. And we have built a best practice guide around AI, in particular, how to use it within the software development lifecycle. And this is the area that I'd like to focus on. So we are Estafet. I'd like to give a brief introduction to Estafet. We are a software delivery firm specializing in both bespoke software, integration, and data engineering. We have seen the impact of generative AI come into the market, affect the whole industry. And we're really looking at it, and we've done some research to make sure that we understand how best to use it, how to make sure that our teams are fully aware of it and that it is being used correctly. And as a result of that, we've come up with some best practice. I'd like to talk to Branny about this. Branny, at Estafet, we're very used to new technologies, examining, looking at them, bringing them into the tool set that we use to deliver applications. Can you tell me a little bit about AI and why generative AI is different to machine learning and the AIs in general?
So the generative AI, it's the new buzzword, I would say. It spans from generating art and images, text, and specifically, actually, the text and the large language models is what is being quite popular nowadays, because the fact that it can generate code as well. What's different? How it's different from the traditional AI, I would say, is that traditionally we have been always associating the AI with getting some data, training a model, and then doing tasks like pattern recognition, image recognition, classification, and all of that. And with the generative AI, actually, it's much different, because now the AI is rather expanding rather than summarizing or classifying a specific problem. But now it's actually expanding and it's generating on a specific topic, which is, quite exciting, I would say.
So we are experts within software delivery. We have teams both in the UK and in Bulgaria, and we're working with both enterprise and the startup. We started taking a look at how it was being used, and we created a best practice. Can you just tell me why best practice is important within a delivery team?
Yeah, that's it's usually what you want to do ideally when you have new technologies. Basically, you want to start with a systematic assessment of what is it and what it's capable of. And this is, I would say, especially important when the new technology has a lot of hype around it, because we all know that everybody is going to jump on it and use it. And everybody, including our employees, our developers, our colleagues. So it's quite important here to get a systematic approach, and we all know what the technology is capable of, where it can be used, and this helps actually the collaboration within the team, and it makes the whole adoption process much more seamless.
Do you think there is a development team out there at the moment that's not using it, even if the CTO is unaware?
It's a very good. It's a very good question, because there might be, and most probably many teams are actually not using it, despite the fact that the individual developers are using it. So I would say that I can imagine that almost every developer, every software engineer, no matter if it's focused on development or DevOps or testing or any other aspect of the software delivery lifecycle, have at least heard of it and most probably using it. But now the question is the team using it? Is it incorporated within the workflow of the team? Well, that's a different story, I would say.
Once you realize that actually the individuals in the team are using it, you really need to step in at this point and begin to, as you would with any other technology, understand it, train it, and set down your best practice. Have you come across that before? Is that something that teams are beginning to do now?
I would say that it's an emerging process. What I have seen a lot in internet and in the various podcasts, video blogs and all that is about individual use cases of actually how you can use it to achieve a specific thing. Of course, there are many articles around the general best practices and how it can be used, for example, in the testing, in the QA area to generate specific sets of fake data that you can use for automated testing, or you can see a lot of articles about how you can write like your bootstrapping code for an application or your skeleton for an application on a specific framework. So these individual cases, there are a lot of them in internet. But now the question is how the actual team work and how these individual cases can be put together in the whole development lifecycle, and how you can see the actual efficiency and also kind of reduce all of the risks. Well, I would say that there's not much information about that. It's an emergent topic.
So let's talk about the overall efficiency before we get into the advantages for each individual role. What do you think the major efficiencies are for a development team using it rather than the individuals?
I think that the major efficiencies come when it goes the way of code generation, and that's obviously one of the fastest ways that you can adopt it. So basically, if you are a developer and you have selected the right technology, or you have selected and you have a clear understanding in an explanatory way of actually what you want to achieve, then the efficiency gain is enormous. Basically, you can just construct your prompt and you're going to get the code generated. If you do some troubleshooting, it's a bit more difficult, but it's getting better and better integrated into various tools. But it's also quite useful when it comes to troubleshooting. For me as a software architect, I would say that for me it's also quite useful, especially when I need to do a comparative analysis of different architectural approaches, or I need to kind of bootstrap.
So before we get into the individual roles, let's just talk about the risks and the mitigation to risks for the team overall. What would you say that the major issue is with using this tool?
Yeah, I think that I would group the major issues actually in kind of three categories. So the first one is really the most important one about the data confidentiality. Actually, what you can put in those prompts. That's the first very important aspect. So this is where it's very important to when a development team starts using ChatGPT to have the proper integration of the technology in the corporate tools. So you can have the right practices and the right guide rails for that in order to not do and have any accidental data breaches. So the second aspect I would say is here really around using it using it towards increasing your team efficiency rather than your individual efficiency, because what you have seen very often is that some people are just using it as a relay between their colleagues in ChatGPT. So if you have a question in hand, you just ask ChatGPT and provide a generic answer. Well, that might make you quite efficient, but actually the overall efficiency of the team is not very increased because this answer is most of the time quite generic. And it's not really impacting the project in the right way. And the third group, I would say, is around using the growing ChatGPT ecosystem of tools and prompts and plugins. That's a kind of emerging concern about actually how those plugins are modifying your prompts, and they might be actually doing some unexpected or unintended actions, and might have unintended
some
consequences.
bias that you don't know about.
Exactly.
What about security?
Well, the security is another very important topic here. So we all know that what is being mostly used now is the OpenAI and the OpenAI chat or the ChatGPT, which is a kind of a public service, public deployment of ChatGPT with a lot of monitoring being performed by OpenAI. And if you want to integrate it in your enterprise scale security, you have to probably start looking into some other deployment options that are available nowadays.
One thing that fascinates me a little bit is also the logging and the auditing of what's going on. And I know that is you're more concerned with sort of production software and what the generative AI is actually producing and what it's saying, particularly chatbot type applications. What's your view on that within the development lifecycle in terms of understanding as a, let's say, enterprise or as a startup, what your team is actually doing and how it affects that end product?
Yeah, that's absolutely, I would say that's vital. With every AI technology, I would say that that the majority of the adoption of the technology is around really getting the logs, getting the data, getting the reporting and troubleshooting in order to find the right way to use it. So especially with ChatGPT is exactly the case. So it's literally super easy to be integrated. You just open your browser, start typing. But then the question is, okay, how do you share the prompts within the development teams? How do you measure which are the most effective prompts? And for all of that, you need exactly this logging, monitoring, and analyzing the benefits. And this is vital to get the most of the efficiency.
So this is really one of the reasons why we wanted to do the best practice and produce best practice to help teams understand what they've got and how to use it, but also for the enterprise and the startup to be able to look at it, take advantage of it, but understand some of those risks. Within our best practice guide, we've actually looked at roles, individual roles. Let's just talk about one or two of those now. Benefits of generative AI to the solution architect.
Yeah, absolutely. So this was one of the great things about our best practices, that we were able to really focus on the individual roles, but also understand the whole cycle. And for me as a solution architect as well, I would say that the actual benefits are in something that we call augmented architect. And you can see that a lot about it in the internet, but especially in our best practices, we have get a lot into actual aspects of how you can augment yourself as a solution architect by using ChatGPT. And it's mostly around generating and comparing and analyzing different documents, tailoring software architectures to your specific product. And this is getting you a lot of gains, because basically when I have an idea in my mind, I can express it in the right way, in an explanatory way, and then get the actual specification that I can further give to the development teams. So doing a low-level design with ChatGPT is
I know it's difficult to say because it will be project independent and work independent, but how much more efficient do you think a solution architect will be? Generally, give me a figure, because I really don't know whether you're talking about 10%, 30%, 100%. Where are you? What's your thought?
Yeah, well, I would say that I'm at least 40% more efficient.
Yeah.
And to be honest, this number might be increasing every week.
Yes. Yeah, because it's changing a lot. Yeah. Can I talk to you a little bit about the QA role, so the role of a tester? So how does generative AI impact their role and their job?
Yeah, I think that the most gains are in two directions. Like the first direction is we all know that in the QA area, the automation has a profound impact on the way that the testing is done nowadays. And as part of the automation, you want to generate a lot of test cases, scenarios with fake data. And this is something that you can much more easily do with ChatGPT. And the second area, which is quite important, is in the domain understanding, business domain understanding. Very often the functional testing is vital to understand the business domain. And back in the days when without ChatGPT, usually you want to chase the business analysts and asking them tons of questions or go through long documents. And now actually getting a brief understanding of the domain happens in minutes, actually.
Yes. I noticed now that you have moved away from using the ChatGPT interface UI to actually using Jupyter notebooks. Can you just tell me a little bit about that and why you did that?
Yes, absolutely. So that's something that I have been doing in the last months. I mean, the biggest benefit I would say here is that with the Jupyter Notebook, you can have you can do repetitions and iterations on your prompts. So it's much better. It's much better way to actually develop your prompts, develop templates for your prompts, and the prompt engineering becomes much better. And actually, when it comes to being to augment yourself as an architect, having the right set of prompts is really vital, I would say. And the other thing is with the Jupyter Notebook, I can benefit from a lot of frameworks around that, around ChatGPT, like LangChain, which allows me to incorporate in a safe way, in a secure way, a proprietary knowledge that I possess. And and the other thing is also it feels much more secure way to interact with ChatGPT because I don't need to be concerned about this and that plugin, what it does and how it modifies my responses.
So what you're doing is you're using Jupyter Notebook, the API, and then obviously the AI itself. Okay. Can you just clarify what you mean by prompt, just to make sure we understand?
Yeah. So by prompt and the prompt engineer, it's an emerging term, I would say. And the prompt itself is what you feed to the large language model, and the prompt itself it provides all of the context and all of the context that you share with AI.
So it's the actual scenario use case that you're actually typing in or presenting.
Exactly. And sometimes it's sometimes it's even much more because with the large language models, the prompt size is getting bigger and bigger with every generation, which opens completely new opportunities.
Okay. Can we talk about the developer now? So we have a development team. Let's imagine that it could either be enterprise or startup. We have they're collaborating with Estafet, it's an nearshore delivery company. We're scaling slightly. Can you just talk to me about the impact that it will have on the developer and how it will change from non-use of AI to, let's say, working with a company like Estafet, where we know and understand what to do with it? How did the developer be impacted there?
Yeah, I would say that the impact for the developer is huge because in the end, the developers ourselves, we are actually generating the code and now having a large language model that can actually doing this on our behalf is having profound impact. And I would compare it with things like, for example, the rise of the IDEs or the rise of the different automation options and frameworks. So it's just another tool that this time has a profound impact on our creative process. And I would say that having a developer that is actually trained and understands the power of ChatGPT is going to become vital, and it's going to be extremely important. I would say it's going to be a fundamental skill, I would say.
Yes. And
when you're forming a team, this specific skill is going to be one of the primary technical skills, which has to be taken into consideration, and will have also impact on how the team cooperate and how the team delivers the actual capability.
Okay, that's great. And DevOps. The DevOps role has obviously changed quite a bit over the last 5-6 years in terms of its interaction with the team. How do you think AI is going to impact the DevOps role?
Yeah, I think that the most important impact will be in the area of infrastructure as a code.
Yeah,
it's an area that has been increasingly used by the DevOps teams, and now they will become much more efficient by using ChatGPT, similar to the developers. Another thing that we have to, of course, be careful with is that, in fact, we don't want to give ChatGPT access to any production systems. So in the case of the DevOps, the automation part, the infrastructure as a code, huge impact. But when it comes to actually doing site reliability engineering, the impact, we have to be careful with this impact.
And finally, just to join the team to the business, we've got the product management role. Should product managers be looking at this as ways to make themselves more efficient?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, I would say. For them, it's I think it's going to be a great way to actually perform quick customer interviews to better understand the specific domain. I think this would be also quite entertaining for them as well to have such access to the customer perspective. And I think it would be very...
In terms of impact on efficiency, you mentioned that with the solution architect role, your experience personally is around 40% and maybe increasing. What do you think the current overall, if I take product management and then an agile team, let's say of 8, say 2 QAs, a couple of DevOps and developers, maybe a solution architect there as well. What do you think the overall efficiency gain will be over a similar team, but one that isn't using generative AI?
Yeah, at the current stage, I would say it's roughly around 30%.
Yeah, 30.
This number I would say is going to probably be increased with the adoption of more and more best practices.
Yeah. So we've produced best practice within Estafet. We're training our people within Estafet. So obviously we're quite sort of open to the impact of it. We will be more efficient, but hopefully will our quality also increase? Do you believe the mix of senior within the team and sort of more mids and junior people, how do you think it'll impact quality and then the level?
Yeah, I think it's going to have a very good impact on quality because using the large language models to generate code allows you to actually focus more on the way that you explain the way that you explain the technical design, the way that you explain the technical specification of a specific feature. Focus much more around how you create your your tasks, your tickets, and then focus much more on how you do the pull request, how you do the code review, and this is obviously going to increase the quality of the overall code that is being produced because the developers are going to pretty much have more time to focus on those aspects, which unfortunately sometimes get neglected. The other thing is that it will promote much more streamlined and a common way of actually describing specifications and then doing code reviews, which I think is going to help the team to have more uniformity. It's...
And quite often I've heard generative AI is very good for experts and not so good for people that do not know and understand or have the depth of knowledge and experience. Do you go along with that, or do you think it's just different ways of using it?
Well, I think it's especially in the software engineering field. I think that's partly true. The reason why, I will say that we have to divide this question into two kind of aspects, like how easy is to be used, and the fact is that it's extremely easy.
Yes,
it's something that you can very easily engage with it. But then the question is, the second type of the question is actually what's the gain that you receive from using it? And here there is a big difference comparing an expert and somebody who is just playing around with it.
Yes. Yeah. I do find that quite interesting, and it sort of leads me into the impact on the culture of the team, particularly around creativity. I wonder whether you can just talk a little bit about what we might see and how we would like to maintain creativity within the team.
Yes, absolutely. I think this is going to have a huge impact on the culture, and the culture of the organization will have to start thinking about this because of the fact that producing basically having a tool that can augment your creative process is something that will obviously have a cultural impact because the creativity is an essential part of the culture of an organization, especially amongst development teams. And I think that the best practices here is really what is the first step. So getting everybody in the team understanding what's generative AI, how it can be used, what's the benefit, this helps you basically get the perspective of the other person, of the other colleague that is currently using it in your conversation. And I think that what's going to basically happen is there's going to be a shift in the way that the creative workshops are happening. So maybe the shift is going to be more about exchanging ideas and talking on a different level, and rather than discussing a specific technical aspect.
Great. Thanks very much, Branny. That's absolutely excellent. We could have talked for a long time about this. If you're interested in coming to use within your team generative AI, then please get in contact with us. We've done quite a lot of research and work. We've just touched on a very few number of topics here. We have a best practice guide that is available. We have teams that are trained with AI. And if you're interested, or you've got a project that you would like to see what the impact of AI would be on that, or just take advantage of this technology in general, please get in touch with us. We've got lots of experience around applying AI to data and to applications, whether they're bespoke applications or integration, and we can offer a lot of advice. Thanks very much.